In most MMOs, advancement or your edge for being loyal and continuing to play the game can be measured in skill trees, a nastier character, vast wealth, a bigger vehicle, and so on, or a bigger weapon. To a certain extent, this will be true in Star Citizen as well, but to a much lesser degree. So what is Star Citizen's advancement? Let's get this. In Star Citizen, there will be skills, but they won't be game-defining or breaking. If you run around constantly, you'll be able to run a bit further. If you carry heavy boxes around, you might be able to carry them a bit farther or carry a bit more. But it won't be like a real skill tree. You're just rewarded for doing certain physical tasks over and over and over again. There won't be a big chain of unlocks that you can click your way through to godlike power. In other words, it'll be more similar to real life. You can't get into 5 fights and suddenly learn how to do calculus. Your body and brain don't work like a skill tree, even though it's a trope of RPGs. So your toon will gain skills, but they'll be more like little buffs than game-changing or breaking powers. Largely, from everything that we've been told so far, the skills your character has are the skills you have. Those that you actually learn and gain as you, the human on the keyboard, play the game. So outside of your own personal knowledge and experience, it won't be a skill tree. Likewise, the usual path of unlocking a bigger ship, either through vast sums of wealth or just by buying it with real money, won't necessarily be a huge benefit. While you could definitely argue that the ability to make money with the whole sea is heads above what you can make with a starter Aurora, there's also a law of diminishing returns in effect. So what do I mean by this? Well, let's take the Prospector and the Mole as an example. Both are mining ships, with the Prospector being the starter and the Mole being an undeniable step up. On its face, you could certainly make more with the Mole than you could with a Prospector. But is that actually true? Well, the Mole has 3 mining lasers, and they're bigger, but that also comes at the cost of crew. The Prospector only needs a single pilot. The Mole needs a pilot and 3 other crew members to really make it work as efficiently as possible. Considering that, even if you run it with NPCs one day, you'll still have to pay those NPCs. At the end of the day, while your overall profits will be higher, your profit per person might not be much better than the smaller solo Prospector. It might even wind up being less. We're going to get a very good sense for this with 318 with the Vulture and the Reclaimer. The Reclaimer will make quite a bit more than the solo Vulture, but to run efficiently, the bigger ship should probably be running with at least 5 people, if not more. When you crack those big profits into 5 or more, suddenly the per person profit isn't much better than with the Vulture. Sure, there's some economy of scale in effect, but the end result is that even though the Mole has 3 times the laser, the profit isn't 3 times what a Prospector pulls in. Each ship has its niche. They're balanced even though one is clearly bigger and better than the other, and those big ships will have comparatively big overhead, and they'll be bigger targets. It's easier for pirates to hit 1 Reclaimer than 10 Vultures, for example. Paying for escorts for the juicier target will also come into play. For combat ships, the same is also true. A Javelin isn't an I win button it would be in other games. It's not a Dreadnought from Eve, for example. A Javelin has a crew of 80 people, and while 75% of that could probably be filled with NPCs or even run as a short crew, that still leaves probably 20 positions that will have to be filled with people, none of whom will work for free. And warships take damage, so that will have to be repaired. Munitions will have to be resupplied. Big warships will probably need escorts of their own. Even if a player is a whale and just jumps around the in-game advancement from small ship to big ship, the biggest in-game ship is not a guarantee of instant success or domination in Star Citizen. You'll need a crew, you'll have to afford upkeep, you'll need to have the knowledge to ensure the ship is as profitable as possible or as successful as possible. So if advancement in Star Citizen isn't measured by superpower character empowered by unlocking every node on a skill tree, and it's not buying the biggest ship in game, what the hell is it? Why continue to play the game? What is the measure of advancement in this game? And in a word, it's reputation. The reward for playing the game over time will be reputation, both with other players, but also with various factions and NPCs such as mission givers that will populate the verse. A good reputation with an NPC or faction will get you access to better locations run by them, better missions, maybe exclusive items, exclusive mission givers, or maybe even exclusive locations. But that might come at a cost as well. So let's take Pyro as an example. Hopefully within a year or so, we'll be able to experience Pyro ourselves, but Pyro will likely bring in a few changes in the form of reputation. A person that ends up with a good reputation with the lawless gangs present in Pyro might find their lives a bit more difficult when they try to transit over to Stanton. Those criminal connections will come at a price, even if you really didn't engage in any criminal behavior. Likewise, if you're a goody two-shoes that keeps your rep sparkling in Stanton, you might find it real difficult to find a place to land and refuel if you go to Pyro. Being in good with one gang in Pyro might put you at odds with another, maybe violent odds. And maybe the same will hold true in Stanton. Maybe a good rep with Crusader will put you at odds with the powers that be on Hurston. And this is the kind of currency, the real currency of the verse, will be the cornerstone of the game, defining where your character can go, what they can see, and what they can do. It'll define your character, and if CIG pulls it off, make you badly want to keep your character and their carefully crafted reputation and connections intact. Even players who are lawless, who don't care about their reputation, will still be impacted by it. They'll find themselves hunted, but more than that, they'll find landing zones closed to them. Just because a station is run by lawless gangs doesn't mean they just want anyone landing at their station. Players that choose this path might find their gameplay limited by their reputation, pushed further and further out into the fringes of space. Pirate and Marauder players will still have to maintain their reputation with various pirate factions, or they'll find themselves out of fuel in the middle of empty space, just waiting for their air to run out. So if all goes as planned, if CIG can pull it off, reputation will be the real currency of this game. The reason to keep playing, the reason to keep your character alive, the things that opens doors or closes them. That's my 2 cents anyway. So what's yours? Let me know down in the comments and catch me next time.